I'm Manus Campbell. I'm from New Jersey. I'm a former Marine. I served in Vietnam in 1967 and 68. I moved to Vietnam in 2010. And my organization funds education for disabled children and for victims of unexploded ordnance.
I'm Chuck Circe. I'm from Athens, Georgia. When I came to Vietnam in 1967, I couldn't find Vietnam on a map. Came here because I'm a veteran of the war and ended up staying, working on humanitarian projects related to the consequences of the war, which is unexploded ordnance.
My name is Chuck Palazzo.
Because of
The first time I came to Vietnam was in 1970 during the war. I was a U.S. Marine. I had just turned 18 years old, and I found myself 8,000 miles away from my home turf of New York. I did have a goal and a dream to come back here at some point and do something positive here in Vietnam and for the Vietnamese people.
So we'll be north of Charlie Ridge then, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Mike Cerre, and like the others, I first came to Vietnam during the war. In 1970 and 71, I was with the Marines, flying as a forward air observer out of the Da Nang Air Base, which is now the Da Nang International Airport.
Da Nang Airport, which used to be Da Nang Air Base during the war, was one of the major air bases that delivered Agent Orange via helicopter and fixed-wing aircraft. And a lot of that Agent Orange seeped into the ground as a result of just overflows and accidents at the airport. All of that Agent Orange seeped into the groundwater and into the soil, etc.
Agent Orange, the defoliant used extensively by the military during the war, has since been found to have been contaminated by dioxin, a dangerous compound believed to be responsible for an abnormally large rate of birth defects and cancers affecting Vietnamese families and American veterans.
One of my motivations back then, 4 or 5 years ago, was to resolve my own issues as well as to work with the victims. I continue to heal as a result of the work that we do with the Agent Orange victims here. I have no medical or scientific background, but just interacting with the kids, I could see that it makes them happy, and it makes me happy too. I enjoy it.
After a 30-year career as a software developer, a recent divorce, and a long struggle with PTSD, Chuck sold his house and most of his possessions so he could move to Da Nang to start a software company, so he could work with local Vietnamese organizations assisting Agent Orange victims.
Well, the older boy who's laying here, he's just about incapacitated 100% at this point. We're seeing more and more of the genetic results of Agent Orange. These two boys are third-generation victims, and I see it in our own veterans' families back in the U.S. The problems have been skipping generations. Grandchildren and now great-grandchildren are being born with problems as a result of the genetic issue with Agent Orange.
UXOs, Unexploded Ordnance, another dangerous legacy of the war that continues to kill and maim tens of thousands of Vietnamese, especially here in Quang Tri Province, near the old DMZ, demilitarized zone, where more bombs are believed to have been dropped than in all of World War II. Many of them were cluster bombs, each containing hundreds of these small bomblets.
The Defense Department estimates that about 10% did not detonate as designed. So when they fell to the ground intact, now today, 40 years later, they're exploding and they kill and maim people.
A former community newspaper publisher and political consultant, Chuck Circe's new mission and encore career involves teaching the Vietnamese how to find and safely dispose unexploded bombs, like this cluster bomb spotted by a farmer at the edge of his rice paddy, less than 50 yards from his home and children. Project Renew is what Chuck calls his education and bomb removal operation. He runs with the help of Bui Trong Hong, a former North Vietnamese Army colonel. Adversaries during the war, they now work together as allies, trying to make Vietnam safe.
Okay. Hả? Đúng rồi, màu trắng. Dạ rồi. The Vietnamese seem somewhat surprised and in some cases slightly admiring that somebody my age is still working, but I explained to them it's doing something that I feel compelled to do, and I like it, so why should I stop?
Manus Campbell, a retired New Jersey state trooper, is redirecting his pension and veterans' disability payments to support special needs children at this daycare center near Hoi An.
When I learned that for $60 a month, I can bring a child out of his home where he's basically in bed or on the floor watching TV all day, bring him to a school where he can interact with his own peers, he can realize that he's not alone in life, that there are other people just like him, and he can develop friends. So this is my home in Hoi An. It's a lot different than when I lived in Montclair, New Jersey. In Montclair, I had a 2-bedroom condo and I paid $2,000 a month. Here I have a 4-bedroom house with 5 baths, a nice garden in the front and the back, and I pay $400 a month. There's a lot of people that are here for just the cheap beer, you know, and the pretty women. But for me, it's about the war. And if I can make a small difference, we really want to do something about what we did here.
Do you really feel accepted here now? I mean, do they know that you were here during the war?
They do. Yeah, they do. There's no animosity, no friction at all. They've all welcomed me with open arms. They invite me to their home. We drink beer together, and I feel very comfortable and very much part of the community here.
I've been in Vietnam for 18 years, much longer than I expected. It may be a retirement plan by default.
Well, I don't think it's so much about that this is my paradise, that I found paradise inside of me.
I'll be 62 years old, and there is no exit strategy for me. I've made up my mind that I'm going to stay here. This is home for me. I love it here.